So this is what's known as a Dogbone wrench, just because of the shape of it. And these come in metric and standard sizes. And this one happens to be a Craftsman model, or version. There's different companies that make similar tools like this. This one happens to have a magnet on the back right here. So you can either hold bolts or hold the tool itself. And what these are good for is if you're working on something and you need to have multiple sizes with you, and maybe you don't have a lot of room. If you're going out to the scrapyard and you're pulling parts, or you're working on something like this where there's a couple different sizes, or maybe you're going to throw this in a mobile tool kit where it doesn't take up a lot of space and it's all self-contained. These are actually pass-through sockets, so you can get way down deep on a bolt and go even farther than a deep well socket could reach. Get things out like that, you'd still have all 6 points around to grip onto the bolt and get even deeper than the deep well would reach, so you wouldn't have to use a wrench and only have a couple sides working with you. But here's a just an example of a 5-horse engine, and we have a couple different size bolts on here. You could use a traditional socket set, which is probably the better method, and that's usually the better option to use if you can. But if you're going out to the scrapyard, or if you're under the car and you're trying to get the drain plug open, this is actually very nice to have, since you have a bunch of different sizes to use instead of carrying a bunch of sockets down there with you if you're not sure the size. So this one happens to cover, I believe it's 12 through 19 millimeters, and they do make standard versions of these too. This one happens to be metric. So all you would do is flip it around to find the size you need, and you can either take off the bolt or you can torque it back on. And here's a different size bolt. I don't even have to switch tools. I can just rotate it quick and get that bolt off too, or I can put it back on. Now, the downfall to this is it doesn't ratchet. That's not really that big of a deal because your standard wrenches don't ratchet either. They do make wrenches that ratchet, like these ones, and those are very helpful. These shouldn't be used to apply a lot of torque with, unless you're using this side. And since this head actually rotates here, what's nice about it is you can actually work at complicated angles and get around whatever you need to that happens to be sticking out. So I can, even if there was a ledge sticking out this far, I could still loosen that bolt. Just to give you guys a time comparison with how much less time it takes to use something like this than to use a standard set of sockets, I'm going to do a little demonstration. I know these bolts right here are 13 millimeters, so I am going to use a 12, and then I'm going to try a 14, and then I'm going to try a 13. And I will do the same comparison using the socket set and seeing how long it takes to grab the sockets and switch them out and try those. So we'll start with a 12. Doesn't work. So we'll try a 14, a little bit loose, and now we'll try a 13. Works just fine, so we found our right size. We'll try 3 sizes again with the ratchet. So we have the 11, first size, doesn't work. We'll try the 12, doesn't work. And we'll try the 13, and now we found our right size. So it takes longer even if I bring a couple different sizes of sockets to me right where I'm working. It's nice to have a little Dogbone wrench like that, so I have a bunch of different sizes already in my hand. So this Dogbone wrench definitely does have its uses and can save you a lot of time and a lot of effort looking for sockets. It will not replace your entire toolkit. You will need your wrenches and your other sockets and your ratchets for a majority of jobs, depending on what you do and what you use them for. But this is definitely a handy tool to have around and keep in your tool bag.